Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to learn how to make chai honey. One of the things I love about the winter holiday gift-giving season is creating new and wonderful herbal creations that I can share with my family and friends. Homemade gifts for me are something that just warms my heart. It means you spent a little bit of time and a little bit of extra effort to create something for someone that you love. And so my hope is that I'm going to have at least 2 videos, hopefully 3, to add to my winter holiday herbal video collection. If you haven't seen that yet, I'm going to post a link to it up here because I did a lot of videos last year as well that you can check out. This year I'm going to try to focus on some homemade gifts. So today we're going to be making chai honey. And what's really cool about this is it's not going to take a lot of time, and likely you're going to have everything you need already in your kitchen pantry. One of the reasons I really like chai this time of year is because most of the spices, actually all of the spices that we're going to be using today, fall under the category of warming carminatives. And if you haven't seen my video on carminative herbs, I highly recommend you check that out as well. Because during a season where we tend to indulge in a little bit more heavy, harder to digest foods, alcohol, sugar, those types of things, herbal carminatives are fantastic allies because they help you to digest your food more efficiently. They're going to help with any of those functional digestive issues you have, like gas, indigestion, bloating. Anybody ever experience those over the holidays when you go in for that second helping of Christmas dinner and you're thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that? A really nice nightcap would be this really delicious herbal chai recipe. Now, the recipe that I'm sharing with you guys today was inspired by Kemi McBride, so I'm going to post that link below. I have tinkered with her recipe a little bit because I did find it a little heavy on some of the spices that I don't normally work with, and I had to add allspice, and her recipe didn't have allspice, and I don't have cloves. So you're going to get my version of this today. You can also check out her version. Like I said, I'll have that link below. So all of the herbs you're going to be needing today are in their ground form. So again, you can find these easily at the grocery store. As an alternative, you could use cinnamon sticks, whole slices of ginger, whole pieces of allspice and cardamom, and you could infuse it in honey, but that would take a little bit longer. And the end product, actually, this product is going to be a little bit more potent and powerful. And so I find that this is enough to actually make a cup of chai tea. Whereas if you do a chai sort of infused honey, the flavors are not quite as strong, depending on how long you let it sit, of course. So what you're going to be needing is ground cinnamon. You're also going to be needing coriander. And if you've ever grown cilantro before, coriander are the seeds it drops. You're going to need ground ginger, allspice, cardamom, and last but not least, a personal favorite of mine in chai is black pepper. Now, of course, feel free to tinker with all of these as you go along. I highly recommend, if you've never done anything like this before, maybe start with the ratios that I'm using in half proportions, because you can always add more spices to your honey, but once it's in there, you can't really take them out. Now, of course, you could just add more honey to compensate. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get 2 cups of honey into whatever vessel you're deciding to work with. So I've got some raw local honey. That's always what I'm going to recommend. I've got a great beekeeping family that I get my honey from. I recommend finding local to you if you can, especially if you suffer from seasonal allergies, because the bees pollinated plants that are in and around your area, and those are the plants that you're reacting to. So if you want to use honey or bee pollen as a way to deal with seasonal allergies, you definitely want to get as local to you as possible. So I'm going to start by getting my 2 cups of honey, and I'm running low. I'm going to have to contact Adam and Josie for more honey. Okay. You know what? Instead of making you guys watch this, once I've got my 2 cups of honey in here, I will come back at you and we will talk about the spices that you're going to be adding. So I've got my 2 cups of honey here, and if you want to half this recipe, you can easily do that. I anticipate my husband and I really enjoying this over the holidays. I find stirring honey is actually easier with either a chopstick or a knife, so that's why I have a knife in there. So you're going to start by adding 3 level tablespoons of ground cinnamon. And I always try to make sure that I get true cinnamon instead of the, I believe it's cassia. So there we are, 3 tablespoons. And you want to stir this in and incorporate it really well. So this will be a little bit harder if your honey has started to crystallize or if your house is really cold. So you can very gently warm this up on the stove top if you are noticing that. And crystallized honey is not a bad thing. That just happens when honey gets a little bit older. Honey does not go bad, guys. I mean, they found it in Egyptian tombs and it's still quite edible. And that's the benefit of having beekeepers as friends. They can give you these pieces of information and these tidbits so that way you know all the insides and outs. So I've got my cinnamon stirred in there really nicely and the color is already gorgeous. And next I'm going to be adding 1.5 teaspoons or tablespoons, pardon me, of coriander. Cammie McBride's recipe was a little heavier on the coriander than I would like, so I think I might actually just do a tablespoon today. So that's 1 tablespoon of coriander. You can add up to 2 tablespoons because that's what she used in hers. But for me, I don't quite like the flavor of coriander that strong in my chai. So it's going to start to get thicker. Again, you just want to make sure you're stirring it really well, but look at that. Oh, fantastic. Next, I'm going to be adding my allspice, and I want 1.5 teaspoons of allspice. This could be substituted with clove, which is what the original recipe had, but as I said, I didn't have any ground cloves, and I don't use ground cloves a lot, so I didn't want to grind up the whole ones that I have. So I substituted allspice, and I absolutely adore allspice. It's one of my favorite flavors. So again, making sure you're incorporating those herbs really, really well. It's going to be this gorgeous dark color, which is exactly what we're going for. And then this is all you're going to need to make your chai tea. So once we have it all stirred up, I'll explain to you how we would make tea. Next, I'm going to add my cardamom, which is also 1.5 teaspoons. And if you don't have these spices or don't have access to them, that's okay. You can tinker and play and taste as you go along and see what you like and what you don't like and what you want to remove. So stir, stir, stir. I've often said in these videos how much I would love to have smell-o-vision, and this is one of those times. It just smells amazing. All right, only 2 more spices left to add. One of them is going to be ginger, which I'm just going to be adding 1 teaspoon, and then 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And like I said, if any of these bother your stomach or are too spicy for you or you don't like or don't have, just start substituting. So isn't it absolutely beautiful? I'm so happy with how this chai honey has turned out. So basically all you need is for every 1 cup of liquid, whatever the liquid is, and I'll get into that in just a moment, you're gonna need about 1 tablespoon of your chai honey. And of course this is very much to taste, so feel free to start with half a tablespoon and then you can go up to a full tablespoon. So your options are just using plain water, of course, bringing it to a boil. Most chai recipes, actually pretty much every chai recipe I have ever seen, does have some kind of milk component to it. Chai is always traditionally brewed with milk. So feel free to experiment with that too, whether you drink cow's milk, goat's milk, or a nut milk of some kind. Rice milk, it really doesn't matter. So in that case, I would do maybe about 3/4 of a cup of water and 1/4 cup of milk of choice. But again, play with those ratios. Another really lovely option would be to brew a cup of, say, green or black tea or rooibos tea. You're welcome to add an immune boosting or immune modulating component to your chai, and maybe brew up some rooibos with some astragalus. So it really doesn't matter how you want to enjoy your chai honey. It's just that ratio of 1 tablespoon of chai honey to 1 cup of liquid. Now, if you've got any questions or comments on how to make your chai honey, or any questions about the spices that we use, you're free to leave those below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs, wishing you health and wellness.